Hey there, welcome into this Bills post-game edition of Take Two. I'm Jonathan Acosta, joined here by our WGRZ Bills analyst, Vic Carucci. We're breaking down everything you need to know from the Bills' big win in Week 2 at the Meadowlands, 30-10 over their AFC East rival, New York Jets. Vic, it wasn't the sort of vintage Josh Allen performance that we saw in Week 1, but that wasn't an issue for Sean McDermott's team because James Cook and the defense more than up to the task. We'll get to Cook, we'll get to Allen in a second, but let's start on the defensive side of the ball because obviously that was the main area of concern coming out of that Baltimore game where they gave up 40 points. This outing against the Jets, a lot better.
Yeah, and I think the most encouraging part of this game, as much as you didn't see a sterling individual effort by the MVP, Josh Allen, is the fact that after such an atrocious defensive performance in that opener against Baltimore, all those yards they allowed on the ground against Derrick Henry and being overpowered and overwhelmed at the line of scrimmage, the first question was, okay, that was Baltimore and that was Derrick Henry. What's going to happen against the lesser teams? Now, the Jets have Breece Hall, a good back, and he had 100-plus yards in their opening loss against the Steelers, but it really shouldn't be if you're comparing the two teams, obviously there is no comparison, Jets and Ravens, from a power explosion or explosiveness standpoint. And sure enough, the Bills slammed the door. They corrected the mistakes that were made. They didn't get overshadowed or distracted by the emotional win that they had last Sunday night and focused on, the concentration of intentionality, as the head coach calls it, Sean McDermott calls it, of the things that needed to improve. And it was about assignments, and it was about, he credited Bobby Babich with putting together the plan, but the players executing it the way they needed to. And again, that emphasis, that urgency was there all week. The Bills responded.
Vic, to your point, they gave up just in rushing yards 238 to Baltimore. To the Jets, just 154 yards of total offense in this game. Tre'Davious White back. He made his first start since coming back to the Bills. He had a nice tackle for loss on Breece Hall. But I think we can agree the standout on defense in this game was the free agent signing, Joey Bosa. A sack, a tackle for loss, 2 forced fumbles in this game, already 3 forced fumbles on the season. Vic, what kind of impact can Joey Bosa really provide to this defense? How much can he elevate this defense, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason, if he can stay healthy? And this is the version of Joey Bosa that the Bills get for an entire regular season and postseason.
Well, it's encouraging to see Joey Bosa do what he's doing out of the gate, and especially in this game against the Jets. But there is part of me that also says this is the guy who has struggled to keep healthy. I mean, that's what everybody's thoughts about Joey Bosa are. It is in his advanced stage of this career, knowing that, it's been a few years since he played a full healthy season. You just want to make sure that the guy you're seeing now is the guy you're seeing in the late stages of the season when that push is there to get the top seed in the playoffs, and especially, of course, in January when you're in the postseason. I mean, he's the closer that this team wants him to be, the closer they thought they had in Von Miller. They want Joey Bosa to be that guy. But it's still encouraging to see him produce, especially after what we saw with an injury that came up, the calf injury that came up in the offseason, and just responding well, the veteran presence that he is, the anticipation that he has, and he is leading by example. He is showing younger guys on that defense how it's done.
Let's move over to the other side of the ball now, where the star on this day was James Cook. And James Cook, for whatever reason, loves these Week 2 games on the road against the AFC East. Last year was that Thursday night game in Miami where he had 3 total touchdowns. This week against the Jets, 21 carries for 132 rush yards and 2 touchdowns. And Vic, Cook was frankly unstoppable in that 44-yard touchdown run, really demonstrating the home run ability, a big part of the reason why the Bills gave him that extension right before the season.
Yeah, when a plan comes together, you give the guy $30 million in guaranteed money. He does the hold-in thing. You begin to wonder, okay, where is his head? If they don't get a deal done, is he a disgruntled guy? Do you have a guy who, to use the Mike Tomlin term, feels more like a hostage than, part of the team. And of course, he was very happy with the deal that ultimately got done, that the Bills worked out. Brandon Beane, credit to him, making a very happy and incentivized James Cook part of this football team. And that 44-yard run, the skill that he has, the jump cut that he had at the line of scrimmage, I mean, that was just an eye-popping type of move. And then, boom, he explodes into the open field, 44 yards for the touchdown. It speaks also to this offensive line that held up so well against a Jet defensive front that you believe, with Quinnen Williams and other players that they have there, supposed to be reasonably stout. No, the Bills' offensive line won the majority of those one-on-one battles.
Cook's 44-yard touchdown run, just one of two 40-plus yard runs for the Bills in this game. The first actually came from Josh Allen on the team's opening drive. I think it was the third longest run of his career, but obviously later on in that first quarter, the scary moment where he gets hit in the nose, he comes off the field on the sideline. The broadcast showing clearly blood coming out of Allen's nose. He ended up just missing a couple of plays, though, but in the post-game press conference, you saw sort of how bruised up that nose was. Just quickly, Vic, any concern for you with that? And just how does that maybe speak to Allen's toughness that he only spent 2 plays around the sideline before coming in and playing the rest of the game? Almost the rest of the game before Trubisky came in.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw him sprinting off the field, the first good thought was he's sprinting, right? So the legs are intact. You assume the knees, everything. So this was something above the shoulder pads. But that was the concern. Okay, so is it a head shot? Although he was moving like a guy who wasn't delirious, but was it his eyes? I got a lot of texts from people wondering, so what is the issue? Before it was clarified that it was his nose, and then you see the gauze that was put up into his left nostril by the athletic training staff. And I just didn't think he'd be out very long, knowing him. And you're right, the toughness. You're not keeping this guy off the field. I was surprised it was even 2 plays that it ended up being. But and then as the CBS cameras had those close-ups and you saw the swelling, the bruising of that nose, okay, you start to think about, is there going to be any issue as it goes forward, like Thursday night, quick turnaround game? Is there a way to maybe put any kind of mask or whatever over that could possibly keep him protected? So it'll be something to look at between the athletic training staff, the equipment staff, if there is some adjustment made. But in terms of availability, I'd be downright stunned if Josh Allen isn't the starting quarterback Thursday night against the Dolphins.
And Cook's big day meant that not as much was needed out of the pass game for the Bills and for Josh Allen. But even before the game sort of got out of hand, it wasn't necessarily the smoothest game for the passing attack necessarily. Allen finishing 14 of 25 for 148 yards, no touchdowns in this game for Allen, passing or rushing, just the 8th time that's happened in his career. And Vic, I want to ask you, obviously this is nitpicking, right? They're 2-0, they're in a good spot, they've put up 30 points and 41 points in 2 games. But the passing game, like we said, not necessarily getting in a full flow in this game. Last week against the Ravens, it never really got going until that 4th quarter. Is there any little bit of a concern in terms of like a slow start for this passing attack through 2 weeks? Again, we know Allen finished with almost 400 passing yards last week, but a big chunk of those came in the 4th quarter.
Well, assuming that this team does the same takes the same approach to its next game as it took after that Baltimore game, where, okay, you come out with a win, as dramatic as it was, but things had to be tightened up and addressed on defense, while also trying to avoid that emotional letdown, right? The trap game, as this Jet game was described by some people. But I think obviously they corrected and dealt with that, and especially on the defensive side. From this one, sure, as easy as the win was, as dominant as it looked in every phase. I mean, it was a boring game to watch, frankly, right? It just was. The Jets were never competitive. I'm not expecting a competitive Dolphin team to walk into Highmark Stadium, but at the same time, the Bills have to be, ready to perform at the standard that they have. And their standard is higher than that of most other teams in this league. But this passing game, yes, Jonathan, I do want to see some improvement there. I want to see fewer balls that are dropped, some misfires that were happening there with Allen, and maybe some of the coverage work that Aaron Glenn's defense did with the Jets were providing some of those, maybe those miscues, or certainly some confusion and different looks that you saw Josh Allen have on the play that he injured his nose, where he was hit as he was going through inside his cage and into his nose. He had talked after the game about hesitating. He wanted to throw, then tucked it down and scrambled. So why does that usually happen, the scrambling? It's because you don't like what you're seeing, or you don't trust what you're seeing. So I think these are things that for sure Joe Brady, Josh Allen maybe can address, even though, again, it's a short week. They're not going to be, as Josh said, not really watching much of the video from that Jets game, and it's going to be more forward-looking. And in the minimal amount of time they have to prepare for Thursday night, I think those would be, the passing game would be high on the list of areas to address.
Now, to be fair, the Jets defense is one that sort of historically has given Allen and the Bills offense a little bit more issues than other defenses have. On the flip side, certainly not the case with the Miami Dolphins, the team that's coming to town Thursday night. The Dolphins now 0-2. They've given up 30-plus points to the Colts and to the Patriots, offenses and teams not necessarily known for being the most explosive in the NFL. Vic, as we quickly look ahead to this game that's coming up on Thursday night, are we sort of expecting for the Bills to continue the dominance that they've had against the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a team, this Bills team, 25-6 against the AFC East since 2020. Best record, best divisional record in that span. I mean, when you see a number like that, or see a record like that, it does make you, kind of sit back and say, wow, it's very impressive. It's also telling about their dominance in that division. And Jonathan, I don't think it will change Thursday night. I still see this Dolphin team that looked just woeful in their season opening loss at Indianapolis. And yes, they were more competitive against the Patriots, ultimately ending up losing that game. And it was more of a higher scoring affair for the Dolphins, because they didn't have any offense at all against the Colts, and had more against Pats. But I still see mediocrity, or worse than that, through the rest of this division. And the Jets, the team that you thought maybe was doing something, they were classifying their close loss against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers last week as a moral victory. Well, this one took a big step back, and you start to look at this AFC East, and if the Bills can keep their focus, keep their concentration, I mean, how early can we see them clinching this division and still staying, interested and competitive to try to get what they want, which is, of course, the top seed for the playoffs?
Yeah, we thought last year was as early as they could do it, and that was as the calendar was flipping to December. I mean, already a win against the Jets, chance to get one against the Dolphins on Thursday night, and then they host the Patriots Week 5 on Sunday Night Football. So a chance to really create some separation in the division early on in this season. The game Thursday night, the second of 3 games in prime time at home in the first 5 weeks of the season for the Bills. They are now 2-0 on the year and in first place in the AFC East. For Vic Carucci, I'm Jonathan Acosta for Channel 2 Sports.